right, let's see if we have sound now. Yeah. All right, let's see if we have sound now. Yeah. All right, let's see if we have sound now. Yeah. Yes, this computer needs to be put out of its misery. You know, like a 30-minute boot. What's up?
What do you think that is?
Yeah.
Oh, that Reese's, my baby.
I think so.
But you
I don't
want
see it.
to
I don't see
eat
it.
my baby?
Here.
Cute. Nice. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, it was her.
Yes.
That was
Oh,
West
my
Coast.
daughter.
That was the Garrett dog.
Sure.
Said, hey, I see a little dog, I wanna go play.
Oh, you didn't.
Fluffier anyway, right?
I'm not sure. She might be.
So how's everybody feeling?
$400,000 for more.
That's what they push it for? No, seriously, I'm saying. Your health okay?
Pain in the chest. I called my cardiologist. He says, go to emergency.
That's
So he's like,
you know.
well, that's the case. All the equipment I have. At the emergency. I was thinking KGPC is going
What? For the link?
and,
Oh.
and.
Oh, we can sit.
I.
Oh, you sat down. She didn't receive you. But normal avenue?
And.
Yeah,
so-
send it to the season.
I
I
realized
received it.
and they said that.
I didn't get the other.
Chest pain's non-cardiac.
What is that?
I didn't get it.
No, no, cardiac.
Because I got it.
Non-cardiac.
Oh. So I wonder if you.
Well, no, I don't have stress because I don't want to.
Talk about what?
No, we'll, not really. We have to right away. Right. I'm curious about.
It's already finished, almost, 2 more days. I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you when it's done.
Yeah, well,
¿Cómo estás?
But he says, don't come.
Suave? Ajá.
the other guy was too.
This is legit.
Unless you want me to sit there. Yeah, let me sit there.
Yeah, he came through.
I didn't see here, I can see on the side. No,
Sometimes that happens.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's delayed. And then it comes. But it's out. Oh, yeah, because I see.
Try with me, sorry. All right, good evening, everyone. We're gonna get started. Thank you all for coming. We're gonna go down the agenda. We have a lot to explain, a lot of things. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, so we'll just go down the agenda and then we'll get into a discussion. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:59 PM.
Put it up there, because. Just a pen, just a pen. Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and call roll. We have Ann to my right, Mark Farman, Ventrello, Livia, Robert. 5 out of the 7 board members, which meets quorum. Quorum is necessary for the vote, so we have enough board members here for that vote. We will go ahead and approve the minutes. I emailed the board the minutes, but just to recap what the minutes were, the meeting took place on April 8th. During this meeting, the purpose of that meeting was to approve the telecommunications company, which it's once again Opticaltel. We discussed it, we talked about what they were offering, and it was approved by the board, all in favor. And then we went ahead and spoke about the upcoming projects, which is what we're gonna get into today, but we discussed the upcoming projects. We talked about everything that we have done so far, where the current projects are at with the elevators, ELSS, and we discussed the other improvements in the building, like the new fire panel, UAC in the gym, electrical panels, etc. And we adjourned the meeting at 6:30. That was pretty much the meeting. That's what it was. So if we could get a motion to approve the minutes by somebody,
Yeah.
and second by? Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. So the next line item is the approval of special assessment. Let's discuss the special assessment first. But before we get into that, between the time that this agenda was drafted and the meeting, we received the result from the reserve study and the numbers, and we had a Zoom meeting with our engineers, and we discussed how much we will need to put towards the reserves, which I know it's been kind of floating in the air because it's a magic number that nobody really knew what it was gonna come out. We are
mandatory,
It's a 45
federal integrated reserve
Not
study.
optional.
Yeah, it was not
It
optional.
was not
I think we
optional.
wanted
It's, ever since the building collapsed in Miami, everybody had to get the study done, obligated to get the study done, and then whatever that number was that the engineers came up with in order to 100% fund all the structural items of the building, whatever that number was, is the number that the association needed to come up with to fund the reserves, okay? The magic number that they gave us, and before you forgot, let me finish. The number, in order for us to fully fund all our structural elements in the building, is $13 million. $13 million. That includes, what's that?
1-3.
$13 million. That includes the roof, it includes roof repairs, structural elements, fireproofing and fire protection system, plumbing, electrical systems, the building envelope, which is the painting and waterproofing, waterproofing of the slabs, windows and sliding glass door openings, storefront and windows in the front of the building, the parking garage waterproofing, and then there's a light.
Yeah, the slabs are underneath this, underneath the tile here, underneath the pavers, all around the
Everything
building.
above the
That's the-
garage, which is basically everything you see from the street to the back wall, and from the pool to the end of the wall here on the side of the parking by contractor parking. So because we've covered, as you guys know, a lot of these stuff, like a new roof, we did the structure, we did paint, we've done so much plumbing work, electrical work and all that, we can extend the $13 million into a 30-year payment plan. Because it would take 30 years for most of these items to need to be replaced. Which is, it's a good.
Not quite,
Well, some,
yeah.
the final ones, right? Some take less, some are 20 years, some are 10, but we can extend it up to 30 years. We have a full 30-page, which I can share with everyone so everybody can see, 30-page plan of what is going to be required to be paid when and how he broke down the amount of money that's going to be allocated on a yearly basis so that we have enough money to cover all these items when.
If you can give an example, just like the roof.
So the roof is 20, it's a 20-year, it has a 20-year life, the roof. We got a new roof 5 years ago. So we would not anticipate to replace the roof for another 15 years. So the replacement cost is $470,000 for the roof. The balance to fully fund the roof right now is $117,500 because we have, roof is probably one of the items in our reserve list that we have the most money on. Not all the items have that much money, but the roofing does. So in this example, the amount of money that we need is not a whole lot. But for example, the parking garage waterproofing and the pool deck, everything that Mark was just pointing out to, that's a 25-year life. The current age of it is 18 years, so we need to replace that in approximately 7 years. The replacement cost to that is $920,000. And in order to fully fund, we need a balance of $662,000 for that line item.
Over the whatever many years is left on it.
Correct. Between now and in 7 years, we'll need to have that. So again, I will share the report with you guys. You guys can go over it. I'm more than happy to kind of like explain a little bit more. We needed to have a Zoom meeting in order to be explained, so I can explain. Well, when I finish this, I will definitely open the room for questions.
The engineers have created this curve without, so it's gonna actually work. So
Sure, the same.
like we created.
Yeah, this obviously, the research study needed to be done by an engineer. The engineer that we use is the same engineer that knows our building. They're the ones that did the 40-year inspection. They're the ones that managed the huge project that we had in the 2000. They're the ones that were part of the roof and how it was planned out. So they know our building well. So they're the ones that were able to kind of have the correct life of each item and how long it was going to take and how much it was going to cost. So because it's spread out for however many years per item, the amount of money that we have right now, as in 2024, 2025, 2026, for the next 5 years, we need to allocate $250,000 a year towards our reserves, which is a lot less than a lot of buildings have to deal with, a lot less than I anticipated because of the numbers that I've heard other buildings having to come up with to fund the reserves. So $250,000 is a small number. As you will see soon in the special assessment,
I'm sorry, did you say for 5 years?
every year, yes. But so,
You said 250,000 for the next 5 years to fund and bring us up to balance.
no,
That's not what you
because
said?
after 5 years,
To qualify,
for the next 5 years, it's 250. After that, it's 300,000, and then like that. So for the next 5 years, every year is 250. And like I said before, I will share the report with you, and you'll be able to see the actual breakdown.
And it recalculates each time because there's new estimates and new.
Certain items come in, certain items fall out.
Obviously, look,
Just-
manpower goes up, materials go up, there are adjustments.
Yes.
We understand that. But this is a 5-year plan at this point. Okay.
Yeah, it's the way.
The plan
I'll
is
explain it a little
yeah,
bit.
the plan
Yeah,
is
so in 30 years, basically, the way they laid it out for us was 2025, 26, 27, 28, it will be $250,000 that we will put into our reserves every
Okay.
year. And then in 2029, it will go up to 300,000, and that will happen for several years, and like that. And then it will go up as the years go by. But it will be an easy increase. It's not like next year, all of a sudden, we need to come up with $4 million. It's $250,000 a year, and it will go on for the next 30
And
years.
we're not going to take from any of those funds in those 5 years.
can't.
I know that.
Well, they will
I'm just
only,
mentioning
we
that.
will only take for them to replace these things, which will then recalibrate how much money we need, because that's what they're for.
They're allocated.
It's not a
to
savings
line
account,
items.
it's a reserve account. So we use that money to fix these items. So the moment that we need to do the slabs, it will come out of the reserves, because that's the
It
reason
will
we're
come
putting
out of the
money.
money that we've allocated to that.
Correct,
It will not come out of a different fund.
correct, exactly,
Okay, just
absolutely.
making that clear.
What's
Um,
the incremental from what is being, inputted every year right now? So what's that to get to that?
It will,
What-
$250,000 will add,
What this year?
it would be $86 for a J stack, $249 to an A stack. Okay? That would be for,
I'm sorry, what was that, what was that? It was quick.
A unit is $249.26.
Okay.
A J unit is $86.66.
Okay.
And then everything in
86 on the increase of what it is for the
Per month.
HOA.
right, per month. However, I just want to point something out.
Total, sorry, total number. we're going from what, right today?
Yeah,
to
what's your
two-
funding this year?
to how-
Oh,
What's the difference
where's
between
my
the
question?
250?
No, we come from like
38?
37,000.
38, 37.
To, yeah.
Funding, where we thought the numbers were from a study we did 2017.
No, before that.
2016.
Oh,
Right, I think that was the first time we ever did a reserve study. From those numbers, calculating the best we could, we did 20%.
Yeah.
We were, so that's what it came to, 38,000.
38,000.
That's all we put every year from our operational budget, 38 of it went to
So in
reserve.
2024, it's 38,000, and in 2025, it's gonna go to 250.
Well, we have roughly $300,000 in our account right now.
No,
We have-
contribution is
Yes.
what you.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
The answer is yes, but the 38 wasn't dictated by anything. The new 250 is what's dictated.
Yeah.
So that's.
Understood, but
part-
the difference that's now has the incremental amount from what the building pays this year or the prior years, we're going from roughly 3840 to 250. So you have to make
you
a.
can't do that subtraction, so 250 less than 38.
Is the
Yeah.
difference.
$212,000 a
And that's
year.
what calculates the spread of 88 to 250 over the range of the.
Got it. Understood, thank you.
Now, in this year, in 2025, there's gonna be a bit of a difference because in the special assessment, before we received the numbers, we had, one of the items in the special assessment was $150,000 towards the reserves, which means that in 2025, we're only gonna have to fund an additional $100,000 because we already have 150 that are going from the special assessment towards the
Was
reserve.
that the one that was just completed?
No, that's the one that we are approving today. Okay. Yeah, no, the one that we did 2 years ago, we had not taken into account the reserve study yet. It's far from us even doing it. Yeah. So that's pretty much what kind of had going on with our reserve study, what we received, what we were able to talk about last Friday. I will share the line items with you guys so you can see what the breakdown is.
Okay, you can send that out.
And then we'll go through that, okay? So let's go ahead and move over to,
Before we get on.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
The budget.
let's talk about this.
Just the assessment that we just completed earlier. We have not received any kind of indication of what the projected expenses would be and how our assessment compensated. For example, some things could be a little less, some you have
You'll find out.
overages.
Yeah.
Do we have a list of that? Usually, it
Yes.
would be
Yes.
nice to see how that worked out.
Absolutely. So, and listen, I just printed this out today. It was kind of a pain to get the numbers out, so I can share them now that I have it printed out. But basically, where we are right now, we still have a lot to pay, but we have spent $430,000 out of the $560,000 that were allocated towards elevators. We've already paid that much money, $430,970. Towards plumbing, which we had allocated about $78,000, we've already spent $111,000, so we overspent that by about $40,000. And the ELSS, we're at $758,000 out of the $1 million, but in that, ATEC, we've already spent close to $40,000 in the smoke detectors removal because we didn't know that they were gonna have to remove
Could
it
you blame the
twice.
consultant, like, yeah, we were pissed, we're like, how'd you guys not know this? But we didn't know that we had to move the smoke detectors
Right, but it's just good for,
to get away from the pipes.
yeah, and it's just good for people living in the building to understand what happens.
For sure.
Things do happen, but we'd like to know what happened.
Absolutely. No, I don't disagree with you. We touched on it very little in the last meeting, because I didn't have the numbers in front of me, so we
Yeah, that's a
kind of
short meeting.
just say it, yeah.
But it would be good to now, before the next assessment, that you tell us, here was the last assessment, here's how it worked out.
Yes, and then extra expenses, we have $83,000, which was in electrical. We had a lot of electrical panels that needed to be replaced as per the fire inspection that we didn't anticipate. Some tile work that we did, the 209 sign, some additional plumbing work that we had to do. We had a bunch of permits that we didn't anticipate for that all of a sudden came up. Because of the time we had to do extra permits, then we needed the transfer switch, needed to be replaced with Don Hillman. So that, all that stuff added to $83,141. That puts our total current, expense so far, the 1.6 million that we had assessed, to 1.384. So we have another $216,000 unaccounted for. However, I know that we already have about $85,000 worth of checks out there to be cashed. So, and we're not even close to being done we are pretty close, but we are not done with the elevator. We are not done with the ELSS yet. There's still a lot of expenses to come. So we will know more when we get there, but we will definitely be, obviously, we under budgeted for it by several hundred thousand. So that's where we are with the last assessment so far. Okay, any more questions before we get to the new one? Start discussing the new one? Yeah. Maria, anything? No?
Just on the reserves, just one quick question on the reserves,
Yeah.
because you guys brought up the example of the roof that has an X amount of life. When it gets, does it not get assessed again? And then if it's, say, the inspector comes and says, okay, it can, if we do some repairs, you can extend the life for another 5 years.
Absolutely.
Is that the process?
Yes, that would be the.
And then does that then get?
You will get factored back into.
Back into the adjustments for
Correct.
the monthly, annual, and what's allocated to it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if we spend, let's say, less than what we are allocating for, that also is adjusted. Because we will have a certain amount of money left over in that line item. So when they will be reassessed and figure out how much a new roof will cost in 25 years, we already have that applied to that. But we don't know if we'll be under or over budgeted, obviously, but all that will take.
Now, moreover than that, when we were on the Zoom call with the engineers, asking a bunch of questions as we did, they realized that there's no real governing body to say what we're putting towards what. They don't really know how that's working. I'm not saying not to fund, but we're gonna fund this year, 2025, and then we see how the litigation plays out, because it's not reported to anyone. So that's something to consider. Even amongst the board, you say, okay, I don't think we have to put that much towards this or whatever, but right now, we're going by what they're saying, but we also know that
Right
This
now,
is all new
what
to
the
everybody.
law says is that we need to get a reserve study, a structural integrity reserve study done before the end of this year, which we did. We have to present it. That study will tell us how much we need to put down and how we need to pay it, which is what we have. And then, so that's what we gotta do to meet the
and
requirements.
that's all they know.
And that's as far as it really is.
Anyone knows.
What's gonna happen next year, or I'm sure there's people fighting it, I don't know if they're gonna change, they're gonna say you can find it, or, you can have a partial funding, I don't know, who knows, I don't know. We don't know, that's what Mark is trying to say, we don't know what's gonna happen. What we do know is that we have been asked to fund 250,000 next year, 150 is coming from a special assessment, therefore we're gonna add $100,000 to the budget. That's gonna be allocated, and next year we will explain once again what they're talking about, what really needs to be done, if it needs to continue 250, or if anything changed. We'll talk about that next year. Right now, they're not like 100% exact on what's going to
This
happen.
was all about plugging the holes for the associations that did not do anything to their buildings. That's what it was all about, so they rushed to put this through, for as much as I can tell, but they don't have the details of how they're gonna monitor it. So we're just gonna try to do the right thing for the building. It's basically our.
Obviously, we have so many places, condos in Fort Lauderdale where they have never funded anything.
No,
And that is really causing all of these new motions from the city to come through.
Just like the bulk of that last assessment, I'm still kind of upset about who wanted to put the sprinklers in.
Right.
I mean, it's a good thing, I guess.
Right.
It's $1 million we didn't necessarily want to spend.
And once you start fully funding, it's a good place to be, because you're saving for future replacement without having to have.
So-
No,
Yeah,
that's the idea to not come out of pocket.
Right, right.
Yes.
Although you're coming out of pocket every month, that's not.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You gotta pay it somehow.
We're gonna figure out who they paid off to put that building up.
Which one?
The Celine? The Celine, I think it's blocking the beach. All the other buildings have to have, except this one doesn't, this one was straight up. And they took a public park. Somebody got paid off.
I think you,
Exactly.
I
always
have-
the whole thing.
I think you
They'll
have
say
to
two
check on
things,
the
tax
mayor
roll.
that was in office.
Office
Who
and
was
three
good?
All right, so we'll
council
give it to
members.
them.
Can we stay on topic?
Yeah.
Selena's being built, there's nothing we can do.
So now we gotta find out who did that.
We'll table that item.
The
All right,
mayor.
so we'll, let's get into the special assessment the board have put together. There was a lot of back and forth on it. Some agreed, some didn't, then they came to an agreement somewhere in the middle. It was a back and forth for a while.
Between all of us.
The major item, yeah, the board, you know, the few emails back and forth. The three items on the top are the 2022-2023 operating.
Do they have that?
No, I don't think so, actually. But I'm gonna review them and I'll email them to everybody today. But I'll say them out loud so everybody hears them. 2022-2023 operating account deficit. It's 160,000. Those were our insurance renews in June. In those 2 years, this last year, we didn't do the same thing. This year, we allocated an extra 20% to our budget. So we didn't have that this year again. But in those 2 years, we waited to see whether, we didn't know what the insurance was gonna be, so we didn't allocate for extra insurance. By the time 1 year was like a 70% increase, the next year was like a 46% increase in insurance. Those numbers killed us, so we have a deficit of 160 that we're gonna put back into our operating account. The reserves, like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna put $150,000 towards a reserve account. And then there's a deficit of about 300,000 we anticipate in all the additional unexpected expenses in this repairs from the last special assessment, the 2022.
Well, we a little bit went over just before.
Yeah, when I was going over it before. Besides that,
So
We have-
the total is 460 then?
the total amount of the special assessment is 1.4 million.
No, the deficit.
The deficit for,
300 plus 160.
yes, yeah, 460.
How we get from 500,000 to 1.4 million?
Yeah, I'll get to it. I'm just, those were the first, yeah, I thought her question was what if that was the total, sorry,
So the deficit from 2022 to 2023
was 160.
and 60, and then today.
To fund the reserves.
The 300 was the
Plus
process.
reserve funding.
300 for last assessment.
6,000.
Okay,
So 460 altogether.
460, okay. Two separate things though, but yes, 460 is a deficit.
so how do, all right. I
And
can
that's
put
the
a million.
this next thing you're gonna stop.
So those are the three out of the items that I'm going to go, okay? Then we have hallways renovations. The floors,
Over even this.
okay, the stuff that we've already paid for was $22,450 for the new generator transfer switch. The pavers in the front of the building cost us $3,000. The garage tile flooring was $9,200. And the light fixtures that we had to add to the ceiling in the hallways was $28,000. Those are items that we,
It wasn't really in the assessment.
yeah, it
But
wasn't.
they've already, we purchased them.
It was a, what do you call that, a change order, because we needed to add more lighting to our.
More, it was, yeah, more lights, more electric.
And to be honest with you, the reason why is because the light fixtures, we weren't unable to match them. Just like a lot of items, like, you know, after 6 years.
I
you
just
can't
want to see
find them.
how,
500,000 from the roof. So we 900 is still not.
No, we're going down.
We're not done yet.
Yeah,
We're still
that's
going
on
down
the list.
on this, wait, let our finish and then talk to him.
Hallway floors and hallway doors and hallway walls and elevator vestibule. So the floors will cost $122,000, including material, label, and material and labor.
wait, what? Wait,
The
I'm so
floors.
sorry.
Flooring in all the
Floor?
hallways. Flooring,
You're talking tile, now we're going to
Yes.
this tile?
yes.
Going back to what the building had 20 whatever years ago, yeah. And the reason we went to rug, if I get up 2 seconds, the reason we went to carpeting is because there was a humidity issue on the upper floors. Prior boards decided it was prudent to turn off a humidifier adjustment
It was years ago.
equipment years ago.
That's 15, 18 years.
Correct, but that's how we got
Yeah.
to carpet. So for people who don't live 20 years ago like me, it was a learning to me, like, why do we have a good carpet? It's like a nursing home. Most buildings that are nice might have a tile. So what actually happened was that got repaired and fixed. Now we have actually the ability to not have to live with carpet.
Moist.
Moist, mold carpeting that's difficult to clean, you know, cause probably repairs every 5 to 6 years like we're at now, just because the fact of the way this building lives, it's a heavily trafficked building. So,
Now, isn't the carpet, how, that was when?
7,
Okay.
6.5, 7.
Six.
So it seems like it was just put down, but it's been,
No, I understand.
and I don't think anyone argues with the way it looks now.
Yeah, I'm not, I just don't know if the tiles are up.
Because I'm not walking on plastic
I
and
mean,
this
you know, when you talk about laminates,
Value
the
of the
laminates can cost $3 or $4 a square foot, just like tile. And we just felt,
If you drop something off.
Tile.
we just felt that the caliber of the building had sort of a
Yeah.
plastic line floor versus tile,
When he
which
told
was
me
already in the
50s,
building, you know, so we're not changing or making this change and all that, it's something that never existed. It just felt it's easy
I
to
do,
clean,
yeah.
Yeah,
it's not
in
gonna.
a noise.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you know, we
The noise.
slept to get a number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was, came up warm.
Right, so
Yeah.
it really depends on.
They were nice. They flew.
A lot more wood.
The laminate down.
What's with this tile, that we had tile at one time in front of all the elevators, we had to take it out. Because when the AC went down,
Right,
Right,
exactly.
but that's
Really
what I
dangerous.
just covered
It's
though,
dangerous.
the humidity
fixed that.
issue has been
How you fix, how you
corrected.
fix it?
No.
We added a
it
reheat
was
coil.
slippery, it was noisy, the halls were noisy. The
People have
problem is,
tiles
we
in
don't
their
take
apartments, it's
anything
not an
out.
issue.
Yeah, but in the apartment, you
This
only have
carpeting-
hallway.
It's
This
away
was
from
not
your
a
apartment,
commercial
even
carpet.
further away.
To begin with, I was against this carpeting from the beginning. It wasn't a commercial carpet. And there really is nothing wrong with it. I don't see what,
But
and
you're
I've
for the
never
carpet
seen,
now when you were
in my
against it.
whole life, I was a marketing sales director of high-rise buildings along Lakeshore Drive. None of them have tile floors, none of them.
It is,
This is now.
Yeah, but even if.
This is
Now,
Fort
think
Lauderdale.
about it in other
It's
people.
2024.
I don't know any in Fort Lauderdale.
Where are you going for it? Do you go to
Take a
O'Bear's,
walk
do you go
down
in
the beach
Venetian,
and
do
go
you go
to
in?
all of the buildings.
go in-
I was
I
in
mean,
the
look at
four
I was in the
seasons.
W,
Look
they
at
had
I was in the
carpeting.
four
Look at the
seasons.
sales
They
office for
don't-
Celine, next door, look at the sales office for Celine, you're not gonna see commercial carpet.
It's noisy.
I don't think it's a good idea.
I don't either. And,
I should be able to hold on.
Yeah.
yeah, I think the people
Do
should
you
have a
put a
vote.
deposit?
People have the
I
right
don't
to
think
vote.
this board has the right to tell us
Hello?
what to have in our halls.
Well, we're not actually telling anyone, we're just going back to a material that was already in the building. So it's not like we're going to a wood floor that never
Wait a second,
existed.
we go
The whole
just
building is half
one
tile
person at a
before.
time, one person at a time.
Yeah, but nobody asked
When
me,
you drop a bottle on it.
excuse me,
Because laminate is, so that, because my.
Mark, nobody asked us about the change the tile, about change the door in the hallway. I think it's unnecessary to do that. Because the door are still in good condition.
So, and that's fine,
Hold on,
okay.
the door is still in good condition. If they want to change the floor and the hallway, put a new carpet. You don't have to put tile because that come out from outside.
Okay, so that's,
Not from
I'm
you
sorry,
guys.
what
No,
were
no,
you
go,
saying?
go.
Saying,
It's
it was
they
part of
did
the
it
things
too,
that we were
so it
talking
comes up
about.
from their pocket also.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
So as an example, so for.
What about the people who live in pension,
people-
retirement?
Okay, so.
How do
so-
you think people can afford it?
okay, let's not do the divide.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's the right thing.
Am I gonna respond or no?
It isn't true at all.
I'm just saying.
You can't expect to live it. If you're in a fixed income, you can't
Maybe
expect
this
to
is-
keep
no,
a place
Seriously.
so you can live in a fixed
So-
income, sorry.
So here,
I'm
so
not
here,
in a fixed income.
okay, so here's my.
I'm
We're
not
not saying you are in
All right,
anything.
hold on, guys.
It's
I
taking
know.
like
Yeah.
2 minutes to respond.
Hold on, guys.
Yeah, you need to come down.
You know,
Let
you
him
have to come
please
down.
respond.
Well, hold on a second.
If you actually wanna hear, you have
Everybody
to
should
stop
calm down.
talking, Maria, you have to stop
Let him
what you
answer.
wanna hear, okay?
I hear,
Because it's just gobbledygook,
I'm
right?
listening,
So let's all
I'm
focus,
listening,
get 2
but
seconds.
when I ask a question, please answer.
And
Let him answer it.
if you're done, I'll answer.
Why don't you keep
And
talking?
here we go. Hold on.
Go ahead, Nick, you start us off.
I'm gonna talk on top. So, if you consider the fact that there are buyers in this building who are not here, right? This is a tiny representation of this building, right? I've come in contact with buyers over the last 2 to 3 years who've spent a lot. nearly $1 million for a unit, $730 for a unit, lots and lots of money. Their expectation, only because of this board in Mario, and his expectation to them, that the disgusting carpets, for instance, on floor 2, for a buyer who spent nearly $1 million in our building. Never before has it happened, but for what this building looks like and what this board has done and the trajectory this building has come over the last 7 years. No one would ever have expected, when I moved in here 9 years ago, anyone would buy a unit for nearly $1 million. There are owners who say to me, but for the fact that they knew that hallway and items in this building were going to change, they would not have bought here because they felt it was far below what their expectation of the building was. That's all. Do with that what you like. It's their opinion, just as it's your opinion that we don't need to do this. So there are differing opinions. So it's clear.
And then we would go, there were certain things that Nick and I, and I think Robert was with us too, that we'd be like, okay, well, what's not necessary? Yeah, the door's not necessary, or the carpet is, the floor's not necessary. So we say, okay, let's just take out the floors. But we have to replace it with carpeting. So what's the number we're looking at for the porcelain floors?
It was around, I think the labor and so the material was like in the 60s. Carpeting was
I think it was around
about
125.
about the same for the whole thing, right?
So with carpeting, so we spend 95. So what did we save? So now we go to carpeting, and for $25,000, $30,000 less, which per unit, is not that much. You now have porcelain tiles from, what are they, 18 by, I don't know how big.
Yeah, like 18 by 30.
18 by 30 tiles instead of carpeting, and for what? So we backed it out. All right, you saved $30,000. Was it worth it to have that for the next 7 years?
And to Mary's question, if a tile
That's
breaks,
kind of the logic we went through. What are we saving?
and from a usage standpoint, let's say
When we
somebody
had the
drops.
last hurricane, there
Still
was no
talking,
electricity.
still talking. So to Barry's point, if one breaks, it's important, right? So if one breaks, that tile can be replaced. If there's huge 18 by 20 inch stains, walk on floor 8, walk on floor 2, walk on floor 4. Those, what are we gonna do? Remove like the entire strip of carpet? Correct, right. What are we gonna do? Remove your strip of carpet that goes from 4B all the way to the center of nearly 480? At the cost of what? And what, we're gonna keep, so we have the same dialogue, we're gonna keep yards and square footage and miles of this carpet somewhere? It's just, it doesn't make sense.
What, Frank, go. What you just said.
When we had the last hurricane, Steve, you saw it. We all had to come out with paper and put it on the floor. The electricity goes off, the air conditioning goes off,
Exactly.
you won't be able to walk out of
Because they
here.
were-
No, but, right, and you also don't need to deal with mold and mildew and people with respiratory issues and items like that. They gather under these rugs. You know what's under these rugs when you lift them up? From these years of flooding? You don't want to know. And I'm not like saying get litigious and sue somebody, but let's get real. Like you thin set tile down, you're not gonna get the mold underneath that you're gonna get under a carpet that's 7 or 8 or 10 years old with a patio. You're not.
And with the electricity going off, you don't get the moisture. It's when you're running air conditioner with
That
humidity.
you get the moisture.
Yeah, so if it's just hot, yeah, it'll just be hot.
Can I just make one little
Yes.
statement, please? We are discussing
Yeah.
the wood carpet or tile at a $30,000 difference. Excuse me, but
yes, I say
I don't
that.
want to throw the rest of my statement. But we were discussing a 900,000 statement of what we're doing against $1.4 million. I don't see where we got back to that
Not done yet.
$1.4
We're not done yet. We got
Not
all
done yet.
sidetracked
So
with
can
all
we
this.
stay on target?
I would love
Okay.
Okay, one more question on the tile. Now, like the tiles we have in our closet, if they're cracked, we can't get them replaced. You're not making it anymore.
Right, and we obviously know that, so we're gonna buy larger amounts, we're gonna keep them in to be able to do that repair, which you can't do with carpet. You can't cut out a 2 by 2 section and reinsert.
Unless you got carpet
Nick,
tiles.
sorry, can I just address something with respect to carpet? So yes, there's this kind of carpet, there's also commercial grade tile carpet. That is a very high-end office building.
It's expensive too, I hear you.
No, I'm
Go ahead.
just, you can't keep saying the same thing, because there is a fix to the carpet issue as well.
Right, but it's
Right, there's a
identical,
cost
it's
to it.
identical
I'm
to
not-
the
I'm not
tile, but
saying
it doesn't
carpet
have the
tile.
wear issues,
But
right?
I'm not arguing carpet tile, but you can't say there isn't an application of carpet that would work.
You can wipe a tile, you can't wipe a carpet.
You don't have to talk
And
about
the
it.
carpet tiles, as they age, they fade.
No,
And when you
we
put
did.
the windows down, it looks, you can see the patch. You can see what it looks like. So
Right.
Yeah, and
My
tiles
building is
also are
okay,
very
we should
difficult.
go off the tile.
Tiles are also are very difficult.
Unbelievable.
And I'm not happy, I'm not saying when or whether, I'm just saying there's applications in tile and carpet.
There's applications for everything.
Right,
We-
exactly.
We've
So it comes
tried
down
to
to
be
total
as thorough
cost.
as possible, and in the rendering, what we're trying to stay exactly with color formats that are here. The carpet, this carpet was relatively inexpensive at the time, it was commercial grade, to your point, it wasn't perfect. It was what we sort of could afford and we tried to stretch. It was a color maybe a little too light. This tile actually is gonna be darker. You're not gonna see people who consistently spill coffee coming off of an elevator and leave it every single day, because there's maintenance people to clean it up, and that's what we're doing.
And darkness.
And dog.
Well, the dogs pee
No.
or poop on it.
So-
And that too.
Yeah.
So now you can mop, you know, who never
Why
thought
don't
of
we
mop?
just do-
Please, you can act.
Why don't we just do one floor, put it in, and then have the people decide if that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't take the third floor,
What are you gonna?
try it, and then see how it is, because otherwise.
So what if the whole building doesn't walk through the third floor?
We don't want to.
And then we put a carpet over it and.
Well, yeah, no, that's.
You know, but you have to order this stuff in quantity,
Correct, that's
so.
right, right. You can't.
So the decision was made by the majority of the board to go with tile. That's what the board is here for, and that's what's happening.
I mean, 'cause
Next night,
like if you go total democratic, or you'll never get anything done.
Let's go
Put a
next.
vote.
The building looked like it looked 12 years ago.
Like, at that point, you know, this, not that many people are here. We'll see if there's any other things that people will say after the meeting, if they watch or whatever.
Okay, let's go next.
All right, so I'll keep going on the line because I know was wondering what the rest of the items were. So hallway doors, including all the doors, trim, side panels, door locks, and lever, comes out to 226,000.
Go slow, one more time.
Unit doors,
We talking about those or no?
I'm sorry, Joe, what is it doing? I heard it was-
New door, you want
We have doors,
There's a separate.
so we get new door locks, everybody gets a new
doors,
lock.
door locks, yes.
I just bought mine for $600, oh, no.
Like, wrong with that? What did you say?
You're overpaid, girl.
I know, well, you know how it goes.
Well, you know, in the 6.5 years that I've been here, we're constantly fixing the doors because they are just not even in good shape anymore. Some of
No,
them have to
I
be sanded down, we
understand
have to replace them. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go down to this one room right now, we have 3 doors that are just sitting there. So we can replace doors because they don't close properly or they get stuck. Not every door, but
Send
they
out a
are.
bulletin,
These
letting
doors
us know
these
that.
doors are minimum, I'm gonna guess 50 years old.
Yeah.
So you're telling me.
So
you're-
in terms of useful life, for the years that this building, and I'll go on record as saying, it seems to me like for years it was mismanaged. Everybody's maintenance fee never went up, it was like super low. When I moved in here, and there was plastic furniture in this room as though it was an outdoor room. No judgment, just factual. So we seem to be the different place with buyers in the building and what the caliber of
We
people
stick
who
with the
buy,
door.
the caliber of
Could
people
you
who
stop
are,
interrupting
the
him?
caliber of people who are moving
Stop
into.
interrupting me.
Okay, so I'll just wait.
You can't even, I'm sorry,
Okay, so.
I apologize for them.
So for the caliber of
Interrupting
people
you.
who are moving into this building, there's an expectation, I think that it should be a little nicer than it has been for the past 50 years.
I'm not arguing
And
with you. I
you
don't
asked
know what
about
you're doing
doors.
is my
You-
question. Are you
you asked about
replacing
doors,
the
and I'm
doors?
answering
Yes,
yes.
the
Yes.
slabs
That's
of
all I'm
doors.
asking.
Yeah, just the slabs, 50 years old, useful life, well,
We're used to being on the
What's
defense
a
of this.
slab?
Those are fire doors, right?
Yes,
Okay.
just so, basically,
Yeah, that's.
What's the slab? Oh,
no, not the whole frame.
no pre-hung door, we're leaving the metal frames intact. All we're doing is replacing the wood slab that's the door. Because if we did
It's
all
about
of it,
that thick. You're talking about that?
the door with the handle, the
The
door.
whole door?
The door.
To
It's shaking.
make sure.
The door.
Do we know what they look like?
They're gonna look like that.
Look behind you. Like what?
What?
That's what those renderings are for.
Oh, well, we can't.
Does wood one?
Mhm.
It's on the same lot like the hotel.
Yeah.
It's a laminate, it's never gonna need painting, it's never gonna need anything.
They're not.
Plastic, just like everyone wanted
Using
plastic
something.
floors and vinyl, it's a plastic door.
Okay.
You like a plastic floor, you love a
And
plastic
Nikki, I
door.
love you, but I don't care about the new people buying it and paying $1 million. I live here, I'm gonna live here till I die,
Like me.
never. So I don't want my taxes going up because the value keeps going up. I put them to some.
Well, they're gonna go up regardless. That building you don't want,
Uh-huh.
And you're not gonna stop them from making new laws to make us do things. Yeah. We'll try. Keep them out.
Besides, the purpose of the board though, is to constantly keep up with the building. Like, you can't just, because the door closes, you should just ignore the upgrades of the building.
We have
It
to
is-
keep the value.
It is part of the
It's
board's
already
job to
designed.
keep the value. Dustin, sorry.
I was gonna ask a question about, are we just doing the slabs, or are we doing the frame?
We
Because-
can't do the frame, because then you interfere with people's flooring, which are all different.
So you also end up with situations where frames and casing are skewed, which causes doors to bind, causing.
No, each door is gonna be templated, they're not gonna. be
Okay, so they're gonna okay, because my
Templated
door is
to-
already askew, it
To the,
barely
no,
closes.
to the, and so
Okay.
is mine. No, to the extent of the fabrication company is taking a measurement of every door and where the existing hinges are
So that,
and where the lock strike is, so the bore lines up with the lock strike and the hinges lock, so it's.
I just don't wanna
it's the
crack
least
a new door and
expensive-
it just be just lipstick on the
100%,
door, like.
It's the least expensive way to replace a
Okay.
50-plus-year-old door. It's-
And we're talking, we want such an elegant building. We've got bathroom tiles in our lobby, in the elevator, that blue stuff.
Well, if you give us time, we'll get there, and then people will
Well,
complain about that
you
too. So-
designed all
I
that.
don't know what to
That's
say.
ridiculous.
I don't know what to say. Eventually
Those
we'll
are
get to
bathroom
that.
tiles, those
The
blue-
house in the bathroom,
Yeah,
they were there before I got here.
no, our elevator. Those blue trim things in the front square.
Yeah,
If you're talking elegance, you don't mix
Well,
marble and.
that is also
bathroom
part of
tiles.
this
That is also
assessment.
part of the
Sure.
process.
This is
That's
part
part
of this
of the
assessment.
But you put it in recently.
It was It was peanuts for what we were trying to do.
But are you putting it in? Well, then
I
let's
think we
get
spent
a real
$150,000
professional
to do all
decorator.
the carpeting, and that's
Frank, we
ridiculous.
can add $300,000 to our budget for a different decorator, if that's what you want. Let's up the assessment right now by an additional $300,000 to hire. a-
I'll gladly step out
A
of
rare
all the
one,
free
you'll
work I
gladly
do,
go.
and y'all can pay
You'll gladly
150 to 200
And
for
I,
all these
Let's
renderings,
do it.
for everything, for nothing.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do all
and I
that
don't
because
think
of
we
one
should
company.
have a board member collecting money for doing this.
I'm not, do you think
What
I'd
are you
like to
talking
pay?
He doesn't get
Are
any
you
money
out
for
of your
doing
mind?
it, he's being.
Well, you're buying it through yourself, buy it
I'm
through.
buying nothing.
Frank,
Why do you
Frank,
ask this
Frank,
question?
Yeah.
Oh, Frank, don't do that because I see it.
Bring
He
up
has
so
been
offensive.
on that.
Nothing so
No,
different.
it's the most disgusting statement.
Right,
I
it's so
ever-
disgusting.
Can I say something? You know, I've been listening quietly. Robert Rules of Orders say, and you know, that once you be board members, one person at a time. I know some are frustrated. I know when money comes up, I'm a retired, a government person. But, I want to say, when I came back, I have seen this board working very hard to try to find the best way to accommodate the needs. So I understand too. I know I have to pay also, and I'm a retired government person as my husband, but what can we do? So please, I understand that. And number two, that Mario, you need to excuse me what I'm gonna say. But you know what? That we can pay interest-free for the amount
For
of
15 months.
time. I think it is incredible that we don't have to take the money out of our pocket just like that, $11,000, you can divide it by 15 months. The last time was, a year and a half. So that's all I want to say. I know there is frustration, and of course, but it's hard to find all the solutions. And I want to say, because you know that I'm back, I have seen this board working very hard to find the best way to accommodate the needs, even though we need to find, the whereabout. That's all I want to say.
On the door, is it solid core? Sounds good.
So 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay, thank you.
All right.
Go ahead.
Can I ask one thing? Okay, so you're replacing the door, but you're not replacing the frame. Okay, my door locked up the key. And
What does that mean?
the
Your door locked
wooden-
up the keys?
the striker blade is totally rotted out. It's like the termites ate the whole thing.
You mean
You just
the door
do it.
jam, the frame?
In the frame.
Better frame.
So now you want us to look at more, I'm good, if you want to replace
No.
frames, we're just
No,
trying to be
it's just-
practical.
You need to replace by the striker print. It's, because my wood is just like paper, falling apart.
The frame is metal, the finish that your door closes on is wood. That finish has nothing to do with the structure, it's a metal frame. So each of those, if it's a problem, they can be looked at and dealt with, sure. But again, to replace every frame, imagine, look at what we're talking about now. Imagine every frame, like people would be
Maybe you
ballistic.
think Erica doesn't understand,
that's
Erica,
concrete.
it's metal, and then where your lock goes in, there's like a block of wood. That can always come out and be replaced and
Well,
be
my
made
friend
to
is
clean
wood.
and new.
The frame is wood, the whole piece is wood.
Mine's wood.
No, frames are still.
It's the outer edge.
Excuse me.
Right?
Mine's
Mine's
wood.
ugly.
I just had to drive to my door.
And it's like paper, it's falling apart.
So what?
The frame for the door in the hall.
So I
Yes,
just heard doors
yes.
were okay, but now I hear frames are not okay. So we're gonna look into everything, but I just want you to know, you Frank specifically, I've never made a penny, will never make a penny from this building. I don't operate in any way like anybody in any prior board ever did that you might have known, talked about, or listened to. I may be different. Nobody up here takes a penny for anything we do, and it's offensive that you would go there. And that's all, I'm gonna leave it at that. You're a gentleman, I'm a gentleman, let's just leave it at that, okay? It's offensive.
But I got carpeting $20,000 cheaper than yours.
I don't care, it's not Chicago 1970, bro. Oh my God, man, come on.
Frank,
Seriously.
all of us
But we
try our
used
best,
your
you
guy.
did at that time.
We used your
We
guy.
used your guy.
We
We
don't.
don't.
We
actually
Your
do
guy.
use your
The
guy.
minute, if somebody comes and says, oh, I can do this for $10 cheaper, the exact same thing, we go, great, thanks for your contribution. We don't work for you, you know, we work for all of us, and we expect you to do the same here.
All right, I'm gonna go down the list. I'm gonna finish the list, Mark. I'm gonna finish the list. The walls in the elevator vestibule, in front of the elevator, fixing that whole area where people come out of the elevator. That, preparation, paint, wallpaper, millwork, artwork, plaques, labor and design,
Just get through it.
$133,000.
Just get through it.
Where is that, every floor or just in the?
Every floor.
Okay, that section, okay.
That's what you're gonna look at when you step out of the elevator.
I mean, so.
Laundry rooms, walls, floors, materials, 37,000. Elevator interior remodel, we were talking about earlier, is 30,000. Landscaping for the pool and the entrance, 6,000. The ceiling tile on the 17th floor is 5,500. Cameras for the storage area for elevators, 5,000. Reamping of the front desk, 5,000. A new garage gate, 10,000. And 10%
The garage.
cushion
Well, he'll
for
give him the sheet, he'll
unexpected
give you the
expenses.
sheet, don't you?
Yeah, I'll email that.
And, the washer and dryer.
Dimitri, we
There-
can't.
we can't do anything about that.
I know.
We can't do anything about
I can't break the contract,
Yeah,
it's signed
the
by
contract was
Crier
signed.
Board.
Yeah.
Go find all the members of the Crier Board
It doesn't
and
matter.
complain to them.
When is
We
it,
can't get out of the contract.
Can we take them out and clear out?
We're
No.
And we would still have
breach
to
of
pay for
contract.
that 27-year contract that the prior board paid. And you don't talk about that there was graft going on with that.
Oh,
Somebody
they-
signed a 27-year washer dryer
But
contract.
they signed a
31.
27-year contract.
So don't talk to me about it. Come on.
They also formed the window company.
Oh, yes.
Correct.
See, yeah, this stuff went on, it does not happen now. Yes, we don't have to go into that
Well,
stuff.
they don't
Yes,
window
that stuff went on here.
Put the windows in.
But we,
That is true. It doesn't happen now. No, it doesn't. So that's the list. Do you guys have any questions on the other items on the list?
I have a question,
Yes,
not so much on the items, but the timing of the items.
sure.
Like,
We obviously can't get started until they finish the work they're doing now, which is probably a couple of months, I would say. And then we need to start
Are
getting
you
some
talking about
funding.
payments or starting the project?
No, starting the work, right?
I'm just saying, so what's in the special assessment, there's a whole bunch of things, like in terms of what's, obviously everything to different people will be a priority to different people.
Yeah.
But just to pick on the doors,
I understand.
let's say doors, right? Can that not be shifted to next year, just given this year is gonna be a very heavy year in
There's
terms of
this-
the increase.
There is a sequence.
That's right. So that
So,
makes sense.
you know, Mark and Barry and I went over, you know, construction, there's an order, right? There's an order for a reason. It makes sense and it's costly. So flooring, all the issues that affect the door undercut the height where it sits, anything related to that has to be done before a door has to be changed. So we've been trying to kick around what would make sense for when this funding of this new assessment starts, when we would have enough to start making payments, partial payments and deposits to vendors, because we can't afford to do it all at once, right? So we're trying to shell game and juggle and make it all work. So we basically were thinking about, how did we leave it? Finally, we're thinking we're gonna try and get the least long-term inhabited floors. Like my floor 4 is relatively light. There's maybe 3 permanent folks kind of all year round. And if there were, we would look at maybe 5 and 3. And maybe those 3 floors make sense to start on, maybe possibly if it worked out for Monday line, before peak season. You know, maybe we could
We're
start
talking
that.
like mid-August.
Right, maybe we were thinking maybe like mid-August, September, October, before like October, November, things get crazy. But it's all based on a lot, you know?
But this special assessment, you're calling, sorry, you said 1.4 million, right?
Yes.
And that does not include that $500,000 deficit?
Yes, no, it does, yeah.
It includes it,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. So and this would then, would start when potentially?
July.
July, we
and
said is
go
there
for-
already.
Go for what, 15?
15 months.
15 months? So I guess, like, my question is really more of,
Yeah.
like, are there things that, especially doors as an example, is the last thing that gets done because the floors have to be done first and all that kind of stuff, right? The door is kind of last. Can
Please,
something
one
like that
person at a
not get
time.
kicked down the
Excuse
road
my.
in a year and a half or whatever, after the, like, you
Yeah.
know, chop that, because we talk about
Sure.
value. When people also see that in a short period of time, the maintenance fees and special assessments have increased however many fold in a shorter period of time, that's also not helpful, right? So, I'm just trying to
What, to
understand,
have
like, do we really need to do doors and
Approval,
locks?
consecutive assessments,
Right, so I guess the way you
Yeah.
and partial of each?
Yeah,
So the
that's what
way
I'm
you
saying,
peel
like,
it, you know, the way you peel it apart is if, let's say we remove carpet and padding, we fix underflooring, does that concrete is how many, over 1,000 years old, issues. Prep it for tiling, we tile, let's say we tile the whole building, in your example, when we leave doors. We may or may not have an issue where thresholds, because some owners ran their new flooring, it's this thick on top of other 20 layers of flooring, that spills out into the hallway.
Yeah.
So now where that tile now reached that threshold, you know, there's a lot of intricacies that nobody cares about. So we could do it that way, for sure. We also thought about possibly doing it, maybe if we pick 3 floors, let's say if we start with the least inhabited floors, maybe we tile, and then maybe we do doors on just those 3 floors. And maybe at least a fifth of the building is done, let's say, in theory, right, done before the real peak season starts in, let's say, November-ish. So that could be one option. But I don't know that we really landed on one, because a lot of it has to do with the materials and when the existing scope for sprinkler, ceiling, laminating and skimming, which is all in that, when that actually completes. And we're thinking that maybe around end of July, maybe?
August, we think.
That's what we were kind of feasibly, but,
Okay,
and you know, we gotta build up the funds, so.
right.
We figure in September we could probably start, which will give us a couple of months before peak
To
season.
split into 2
I'm just
separate
thinking-
assessments, but if we do it diligently, it look like we can get it done by the end of next month. The way we were talking. That's what we were talking.
Sure, yeah. We were hoping,
But we couldn't, yeah, no, Dustin wants to say that. But that, because then you would run out of money if we want to do it in that quick fashion. If we want to drag it out, I guess, but it's just, you know, kind of get inconvenienced in a shorter amount of time and inconvenience over a longer period of time, I don't
It's
know.
not so much the inconvenience, it's just we're gonna have a massive jump this year, and it's gonna like affect everyone across the board. And the higher your fees are, that affects the whole building value and everything. The value discussion goes out the window when you have significantly higher.
I don't know, if I tell you, because I think my assessment is gonna be how much?
See.
See, how much is
mine
it?
is like $8,000.
Okay, so I'm what?
See, you'll be 942 a month.
Okay, I'm 940, okay, so if how much is the total?
40,000.
14,000, so if I came to you and said, I'm gonna charge you $14,000 and give you an increase in value of your apartment by $100,000, I jump for that, and that's what I know is gonna happen,
Or,
because I
or
plan to
even double,
sell.
even double the assessment, right?
I plan to
Let's talk
sell
to
when
you.
this assessment is over, because I know my apartment is gonna go up by $100 and
Hold on one
something.
second, Dustin, you had a question? Yeah.
I definitely hear the point on, potentially stretching it, but like, it's just under construction forever. Like, can we expedite this at all? Like, if we're gonna have to pay this, like, I don't wanna pay it. And then maybe because my floor is a little bit more inhabited, like, now I'm waiting 18 months for this.
Well,
Like,
no, it wouldn't be.
Ideally, we're gonna try and get it done in the scope of the term of the assessment, right? That's, the optics of that are terrible, like it's month 20.
Right, and like we hadn't started and there's drywall everywhere.
15. So ideally, we would like to, we're just trying to talk about how it dovetails, where you start and then where it ends, and be cognizant of peak season when not only owners are here, but they also rent out and you guys make money, whoever makes money.
But
You don't want to affect that, right?
it's much more cost effective to do all the floors at once. All the floors at once. You don't want to start doing
Yes,
floors and then the
indeed.
tile guy has to come back 6 months later.
Indeed.
It's not the way to do
So
it.
that's
Yeah,
the
mobilize
same
once and
then,
just
yeah.
tile,
Yeah.
doors, right?
So long as everybody understands.
You know, there'll be a logistics
No,
thing we
I-
talked
I-
about as things are setting.
I just want to put that out there that like there's
No, that's
a,
cool.
a vote for do it as fast as you
For an
can.
expedition.
You
Yeah.
see, like Mr. Maclay said, one at a time, because, we cannot do everything at once because it's gonna be a problem. But again, if we are happy to pay for in 15 months, the one who doesn't want to pay, most of the people that I know want to pay monthly, so it balance everything with no major problem. That's the way I see it as a person. Well, definitely, I agree, and I agree with you, Mr. Wright, that.
And there would be a logistics behind it, right? Like, and not necessarily because your unit or your floor is more inhabited than others. Because if there's a lot of people that live here year round, then that floor is not gonna change regardless of which month we do it. So that would be something that we can jump on right away. Are the floors that fluctuate, that have a lot of visitors and stuff like that? Those are the ones that we kind of have to wait and make sure that we kind of have a system going before we can jump on it. But to Rick's point, if we can do all the floors without any problems, then there's no reason to jump onto the doors. But if we realize that the floors need to stop because the building is in season and people are coming in and out, and we should pause that, then instead of doing nothing, we will start doing some doors on the floors that are already.
But that's squeaky wheel, right? Then you're gonna have anybody, oh, I don't want noise on my floor, so then we stop. Like, you just gotta set a logistics plan and
Not
go.
even noise, but just say like the installation and curing of tile in the middle of, I don't know, January. On a super busy floor.
Yeah, but other buildings do it, and there's a way logistically, if you do half the hallway.
Yeah,
We've talked about, there's no good answer, we're just trying to figure out, there's no real answer yet,
Really is no
honestly,
good
there's
answer.
not. We're just gonna try and do the least disruptive, most acceptable manner, that's really all.
Can I ask you a question about the lock? On the door, so they're all gonna be the same lock now. Are they Wi-Fi controlled?
So we discussed
And
this.
Bluetooth?
We're thinking, yeah, probably, it's just that the good Wi-Fi ones, 300-ish.
So
We
are
put like
figuring out
$100, for a big Schlage,
Yeah.
it's got a key code or a thumbprint.
So now you want the Wi-Fi, it's like, all right, so then we're like, all right, so we can get this brand, does it have the version that looks the same, that's Wi-Fi, and just do it on a per spot basis? Do I care to have it? No, not really, but I'd have it.
So we're looking into that, right?
So
We're
we
looking
are,
into
yeah.
one that
But
can
again,
come,
to that
that looks the
point, like,
same, that could be Wi-Fi or not
Right, but
Wi-Fi.
again, we don't wanna
People can
force.
choose to pay.
And then the budget will pay for the non-Wi-Fi, and if you want the Wi-Fi upgrade, then you pay the additional $200 or whatever the difference is, but they will still look the same.
Like on mine, I'm able to recognize my phone as Bluetooth, and I woke up with it.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Wi-Fi.
No, I get it, there's a convenience.
There's a lot
to
of
it.
people that don't care to pay the extra money for it.
Right, but we can't mandate it, we can't, so we're gonna try and be cognizant and pick, lock or thumb.
Because it
or
will add up to
keypad,
thousands.
Yeah, it
Or
will.
whatever, and then if you want that Wi-Fi,
For the difference.
yeah,
How about a key card?
We'll have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth options.
I think they both come together, but it's not just Wi-Fi.
usually, yeah.
Look, we're gonna be wired fiber optically, we're gonna have fast speeds, we might as well have the bells and whistles.
Like 4K.
And what?
4K.
4K. Yeah,
No 4K, unless you get up.
you mean a broadcast signal? I get, yeah, I get 4K. Not on Dish. You will have 4K.
But it didn't count the things you did that.
Oh, it didn't say it particularly, but it will. Yeah, whatever channel broadcast 4K, you will. Yeah. You saw the list? No. You should probably not watch it. Okay, yes.
Again,
All right, do we have any more questions, guys?
one at a time, please.
Nobody has questions?
They don't say it. It should say it.
So, yeah. So, all right,
So that's one more question.
Justin.
On the paperwork that we're gonna get that breaks all this down so we can see it, is it gonna be pretty clear what's reserves that we're funding?
Come in here, take a look.
Well, I just, you're gonna send it out, right?
Which one, yeah, but which one are you talking about?
Well, I just wanna.
What we
Melissa-
discussed,
Melissa-
everything?
Yeah, Melissa asked questions, so like, I just wanna know what next year is gonna look like. It's not special assessments, it's funding. Is that all in the packet you're gonna send?
Yeah,
Like after the 15 months, are we gonna be, is there gonna be another assessment?
So
or
from
will
that,
we be-
so from that point.
No, that's what the state does. If we have other-
No, it's what the state, if they start requiring more stuff, that we have no control over, but, I mean, if we follow this, then we'll never have to come out of pocket for anything, barring an emergency or something.
I mean, nobody ever wants to continue to do special assessments. Like, nobody here,
Oh,
everybody
what
here
was
is
the,
else. Nobody wants to pay.
What was the radio, the BDA?
BDA.
That was in the update this week. I mean, it's another thing, it's like, what do you guys think of things?
Your radio flash broken up.
So we had our fire inspection
It's
last
insane.
week, and one of the things is that we don't have enough signal in the elevator, and BDA signals are expensive to fix, and this is the stuff that just comes up. Hopefully, we do have a cushion.
So they can't talk to each other? Is that what
Tell
you're
me,
saying?
tell me
Mario?
why the tower
Just a quick
outside
question.
goes right through the whole building.
So the assessment would start in July and then the HOAs would be raised in January?
Yes.
Say that again. Say that again?
The assessment will be in July,
Right.
and the
Starting in
HOA
August.
will be increased in July, in January because of the reserve.
Because of the-
Because we have to finance an additional $100,000 for the reserves.
Well, plus whatever your budget requires in 25.
This is
Insurance might go up, you know, there's
Of course,
other
just like the
factors.
hurricane.
This is special assessment.
Oh, just for, okay.
What is the J assessment? Yeah,
It's 5823, 388 a month.
Oh, 5823?
5823 with 72 cents.
388 a month.
388.
a month.
And you're welcome to pay it in advance if you want.
Exactly.
Just bring it cash.
All at once or one?
Any discount?
I'd rather keep my money in the bank, get
Are we
interest.
gonna be close to where we were the last time?
And what year does HOA go down?
How's the state? What year was that?
3 years from now?
Is it to an
You just gotta hope that insurance,
24 months instead
Yeah,
of-
that's a big
Starts going
item.
down.
Are we able to use this?
And inflation, that's a big part of it too, the cost of it.
Yeah.
Those are the only insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, is there any more questions? Okay, so,
Mario, I have just one question.
yes.
You guys probably
Any
answered
other
this,
questions?
Go ahead.
but,
2,500 to
I would just ask the board,
Like
maybe not this meeting, but next
in
meeting,
my house.
could you give us a sense of what the board is doing to look at reducing costs in other areas to offset increases? And what's that plan on a long-term basis?
We can actually tell you now that call in someone to do a study.
FPL
We called FPL to come in and do a study for us specifically.
So what would be great is just how you guys have a list of price things that are increasing, can you show what is decreasing? And then what other efforts, what other
Well, the
efforts?
tough thing is decreasing is, I don't know, we're pretty good negotiators. All of our contracts that we do with the contractors, they're all pretty good. Especially even the elevator and the fire panels.
You know what, I have your answers.
They
Laura.
amortize
I will
those
share
things
with
over 2
you
years.
what we have, it's called CEC, it's a castle, sheet where we keep all of the savings for every year. And I have them for every year that I've been here, even the years when Walter was here, and they'll specify what would it cost? What actually cost, what was the savings, and then the total amount.
Sure, that's great, but what I'm saying is I think the board is also, it's incumbent upon you all to look for opportunities to reduce the costs and offset costs and looking at everything, and so who's doing that on a
Okay,
regular
so
basis?
who, somebody called FDL in and asked them to do a survey on how we can cut down.
That's just why I don't want to
Okay,
give
but
a
we
detailed
do it on
answer.
I was
everything.
gonna say, no, it's
On
hard
everything
to,
detailed answer,
it's
I'm
hard
just-
to
it's a bigger-
conceptualize, but I know, and it's not like, oh, we're great, but the reality is like, Mark will call me on the carpet all the time, and we come to an agreement on whatever that is, and it's never, it's more a way that we try to govern for the building as opposed to an event like, even though we did call an FPL, and it may be negligible, but we still realize there's a lot of flipping lights in this place, and so they all have to be on at all the same time. And what does that look like when you total it up over 12 months? So there are event-driven things like that, but it's more like to the point of every time anything gets paid is, can it get done cheaper? Can it get here for free? Is there somebody somehow we know through someone through council that will get it done? So I appreciate that, and I hope what you're gonna do is gonna help, but it's really hard to say for me.
It is, now, the elevators, we'll see, because they're first kind of getting finished, but supposedly, we're gonna have a huge decrease in electricity because of the DC motors we used to have in the front two elevators. They're like, you're gonna see a significant difference. We don't know, but they say you will. So we'll see if that was a cost savings thing.
Yeah, and
with the
also,
modernization.
not only the board, but like, I'm not on the board, but I find things, I know what they're doing, I will see if I can find a better price. for
There's
them.
no,
We always
we always say that.
And
You
we'll
can
always
always
look
tell
at
us
something,
something.
find a better
Yeah,
deal.
that's,
Steve has.
You're talking about.
Just a question,
In general.
Timers
I'll follow up with you.
on the cable, is that gonna be a wireless modem? Or is it gonna be wireless like what you have in yours?
The what?
Like for the new cable, or is there gonna be a modem?
It's gonna be a little box.
It's gonna be a little box,
It's gonna
no
be a little
wires.
box.
No, it's, it gets plugged into the wall and it's a little thing and that does your whole thing. There's no wires.
Okay, that's
Mario
better.
sent pictures of it.
That's better.
Just like you have Wi-Fi in here.
That's
Yeah,
better.
Mario sent pictures of it.
I said, what if we
Get pictures.
Okay, somebody
All right.
Is that
We're
better?
not all at a time.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry.
And is making a motion to approve the special assessment. Need somebody to second?
I will second.
Mark will second. And individually, please tell me who is in favor and who's against.
I am in favor.
Okay, Mark? Robert?
Yeah, this one.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We can discuss the other questions like the cable and stuff like that, but then just adjourn this meeting for.
But I want to say something.
We can do that. We can adjourn the meeting.
No, I want to say it before we.
Oh, okay, okay. go ahead.
For the transparency and dignity of this board. When you accuse someone of benefiting or taking money, this is very serious.
Yeah.
If someone has evidence that someone is doing something, taking money, or you bring the evidence.
Wasn't me.
No, I mean, bring the evidence, because, accusing people just out of the blue is not transparent. Like someone accused me that I was the lover of the previous manager because I was the president, when I have my husband here. So what I'm saying, I'm serious, and I'm saying this not for you to laugh, it's true, everybody knows that.
It's true.
But you know what, they don't know what is inside. So I want to say, for this, I'm here, I don't want anyone to take a cent, because I see all the information, all the work, that's a lot of work. I want to say it, because that's what I want you, I'm sorry that I interrupted you, because it's hard work. This is our
Savings thing we
community,
do.
that's all.
No, but I can reply to you on that, because
Sure.
I've been there.
Capital One Fund.
And all the old people have been there, like,
It is.
sitting on old bed. We've had boards that did nothing but take in the past, so that's why they're all defensive, and their feathers are ruffled, and their
I
views are
understand.
up. They're not used to an honest board.
But I was a board member before, I never took a
So
cent
when people
or did
ask me,
anything
what
wrong.
should do to cut costs, look at one cost-cutting item right there.
Yeah.
Hit your bill would
We
be
found some on
for a
Fiverr.
building about 300,000 for this.
I know the answer list.
On everything that we do, all of us go out daily, run errands, do things, mass checks, figures, and fights. everybody on. Mark will remember, we paid $51.23 15 years ago. So this year, we're only paying $51.24. I see him doing that. And this is a regular thing. Every single thing we get here. If somebody comes to me with a price, I go and ask everybody I know that knows it, is that correct? Should we go do this? How do I do it cheaper? Dumb little things like that. We all do that.
Pavers, we waited, what was the next
And we-
quote
every
for
one of
pavers?
us.
And we are committed, remember this, we also
Oh,
going
yeah.
to pay assessments. We are going to pay assessments besides doing the work. So it's not that you are going to do it and we are here voting. We are all suffering also because no one wants to pay. So that's all I want to say. And you excuse me if I am a little bit electric right now, but I wanted to say that and thank you for listening. And my apologies if you felt offended.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Second.
I didn't get it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned, 7:10. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I already have it all set up.
This was from the reserve study. This is the reserve study.
Yes. All right, so I have.
We do the budget.
All right, so.
Coming up in
No,
2025.
we don't know how much expenses are going to be, but certain ones. They stay the same. This is the
Just this.
And then this will be an additional 150 levels.
We don't look at that, we just don't want to. Johnson, we don't need applause. No, seriously, somewhere in between. Right, we paid it forward. Right, most everybody's paying the assessment. That's the kind of stuff I'm starting to say. I'm like, you know what, I can't go on having this madness. I can't. You know, when you don't really know, it's like politics. Once you flop something like that, it's hard to correct it. And then it's miserable. It's just miserable. It's been miserable. We're going to carry on the doors. solid wood, laminated front, and laminated interior. Interior is gonna be white, because we didn't want to dictate anything, so interior is gonna be white, laminated, outside is gonna be white, wood, You can do that. Except for the one, you will see it for
And it's just for a while.
Okay, see you. All right? What's that? I'll talk to you by Friday, then you can come down.
Okay.
I know you're working
See you.
the whole week.
Well, yeah, I still work, brother. I gotta go back tonight, actually. How do you end this? See ya.